Hello, friends. Ben Ochart here. Thank you so much for tuning in. And some of you watched my last live stream where I talked about the worst filters based on your responses to a survey that I conducted at the Facebook community page. I decided to follow it up. Just in all fairness, I decided to go ahead and follow it up with a video on the best on the best filters. Again, based on your comments off of the YouTube community page. If you go to my community page, you'll see that I do surveys there from time to time. And very often I'll take those surveys and I'll include them in an upcoming video. I give you that warning when I show you the survey that your comment might be included in an upcoming video. Just very quickly before I get into this, some of you have been very kind enough to ask how my new granddaughter is doing. You can see her here playing with my other granddaughter. This is River and Elowen, and that's Winnie. We're calling her Winnie on the right, smiling at her sister. So they're doing great, and you can see them doing their morning calisthenics. Here they are doing their morning exercises together. Oh, geez. I'm having so much fun as a grandfather, as you probably know. Well, let's go ahead and get right into this survey, and that was conducted. Before we do, just a very quick shout out to some of the folks that helped me out. A shout out to Cunningham Tropicals. Be sure to use that code 15 ben.o, the letter O, right? ben.o15 for 15% off on fish from Cunningham Tropicals. Use ben.o10 for 10% off on dried goods. And a big thank you to Josh for his sponsorship of the program, or sponsorship of the channel. And also a big shout out to my friends at the Aquarium Co-op who helped me with a lot of the things I have going on in this fish room. The first question, first of all, let me share with you the question. And it was very simple. What's the best filter you've ever owned? What made it the best? Please comment below. And then, of course, the warning that answers might be included in an upcoming video. Now, let me just put this out there. If your comment doesn't get used, it doesn't mean I didn't like your comment. You can only use so many comments, so I've just got to choose a few of them. But I thank all of you for participating in these surveys. All of you are very appreciated for taking the time to answer those comments. So here's the first one that comes to us from Social Media is Vile. Interesting name. Social Media is Vile. It certainly can be. Besides my sump, it's a no-brainer for me. FX6 hands down. Well, you know me, folks. I think sumps are the king of filtration. Certainly flexibility, added water volume for dilution, the ability to hide heaters, and you reach in, you do what you want to do, you pull it out, you put it in. Very easy to work with. I think sumps really are the king of filtration, which is why you see them on large aquariums that have $5,000, $10,000 in saltwater or corals. You'll see sumps as the primary choice for filters. I, of course, have a sump and a canister on both my large aquariums, including this 210-gallon and the 300-gallon that I'm looking at across from me. The 300 has an FX6 and a 40-gallon breeder sump. This one is getting upgraded to a 38-gallon sump, and it has a Sun 704B on it. So I agree with you. Social Media is Vile. I agree with you on your choices and your comment. And the next comment is from Price Tag, who I had the pleasure of meeting when I gave a talk to the Ohio Cichlid Association. But FX6, another vote for FX6 all the way. This channel is not sponsored by Fluval. Love how much room and options to put whatever you want in it. It's heavy, but does the job great. You know, I can't complain. I mean, they're expensive, They are heavy. You got to drain them a little bit before you move them. And they do have a purge valve on the bottom that you can use to drain some of the water out, because they're just a tank. They're hard to move. If you have a bad back, that might be a problem. They're battleships. They are the battleship of canister filters. A friend of mine, Denny, is making a big case for the new Oasis line of canisters. And I'm going to certainly at some point try out one of those Oasis canisters. I would say probably the king out there for right now, until further notice, has got to be the FX series of canisters. Next, we have Muggy coming in with currently using both a Fluval FX6 and FX4. Both do a great job of keeping up with the tanks. The FX6 is on a 150, heavily stocked with peacock and haps, roughly 30 fish. Water clarity is like the fish floating in air. The FX4 is on a 120 with about 25-ish Mabuna. Same water clarity as my 150. With the FX6, my maintenance schedule on these filters is every 2 months, and I will clean them out. That's a pretty strong testament. You know, the old floating in air comment is that's a pretty strong endorsement for a filter. Again, I can't complain about the FX filters. They're very, very good at what they do, and that is certainly a strong endorsement from Muggy. Lawrence Cafasso 664, sponge so easy versus a canister. But you know, Lawrence, the comparison here, and again, it's a matter of preference. You love your sponges. I like the sponges in the applications I'm using them in. But again, we're sort of comparing paper airplanes to, F-15 fighters. They're very different applications, very different type of filter. The sponges definitely have their application. You're breeding, you're doing some breeding. You've got some fry in that tank. Do not use a canister, or those fry are going to end up in the filter. They're going to end up dead. They're going to be tumbled and put in there and die. Sponges are great for that, for breeding, breeding projects. Canisters are great if you want a lot of water movement. You have very, very messy fish. Look at these two always going at it. You have very messy fish, and you need a lot of water movement, and you want to run that water through a lot of media. You can't beat canisters. That being said, keep those canisters in a Rubbermaid tub. Use something like a watchdog water alarm, because if they do leak, you will have a big problem. But if you if you follow the tips in my canister maintenance videos, which I have a full playlist on them, right? Don't overstuff the baskets. Keep those O-rings lubricated and replace them every year or so. Use a pre-filter so you don't have to be opening and closing those canisters all the time. I open my canisters once a year. With a pre-filter, the inside stays pretty clean. You'll be in good shape. Sponge filters, some people hate them because when you go to remove them, they just release a lot of muck into the water. By the time you bag them to remove them, you've released a lot of muck. However, sponge filters are the way to go in your smaller aquariums. Your 5, your 10 gallon. Breeders or people who sell fish and have 100 tanks, large sponges, way to go. You just run a central air pump, power all your sponges. Imagine having 100 aquariums like Josh over at Cunningham Tropicals and having to maintain canisters for every one of those tanks. It would be ridiculous, right? But you're right, sponges are very easy compared to canisters. So are hang-on back filters compared to canisters. Very easy to work on. So, I get where you're coming from. Let's see what Jay Henry has to say. Once I win Sumps, I never win back. The simplicity of maintenance and flexibility is unmatched. Not cheap, though. True on all counts. Sumps, like I said, are the king of filtration. They can get very expensive. You can DIY sump. I do have a video on DIY sumps, which will keep the cost down. You can get a lot done with a 40-gallon breeder and some big sponges. By the time you add in the pump, the overflow box, the drilled aquarium, I mean, yeah, you can get up into some cost. But boy, you can throw different kinds of media. You can put your heaters in there. You can use different kinds of pumps, do your meds. You know, if you have to medicate, you can do it into the sump. You can do water changes out of the sump. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. There's a tremendous, it opens up a whole different world when you use sumps. So yeah, they are definitely the king. Anything over 140 gallons, 150, I would say consider a sump. And if you don't want to have a drilled tank, there are things called overflow boxes that work a lot like a hang-on back, except it runs a hose down into a tank and then a pump brings water back up. So it's basically like an ongoing siphon. It's a good system, worth considering if you have a bigger aquarium. What Dennis Peleg has to say, Dennis says an FX6 and Tidal 110 for me or the win. I have an AquaClear 110 on one of my 75 gallons and love how much space it has for media, but a lot of output flow and very hard to adjust. My other AquaClear filters, 50 and 70, are awesome as well, but those Tidal filters are really won me with the surface skimmers. All right, so it looks like those filters have surface skimmers, which if you've ever had any kind of a film buildup on the top of the water, surface skimmers are awesome for that, and not recommended if you're growing duckweed or hornwort, and probably need to be turned off if you're doing a lot of floating food. But yeah, I get it. And I think Tidal is a Cichlid pump inside of those Tidals. Am I right? Or is it? Yeah, I think that is a Cichlid, which is those pumps are usually bulletproof. It's the kind of pumps I have in the Sumps, both on my 300 and 210 gallon. Chili Happy says Marineland 450 Pro, in particular, let me see, two of them on a single tank works better than Biofluval 407, and it's easier to maintain the filter. In fact, I put all the media from my 407 in one 450. Threw in a power head just for some flow for the fish, but there is plenty of surface movement, and I see almost nothing in the water. Plus, I don't have to worry about gaskets or leaks. Not against canisters, but until I have larger than 125. So just no need for the bucket. That's a strong case. I'm using Marineland, the Emperor 400s on my 55-gallon planted. I have two of them on my 90-gallon. I like them. Haven't had a problem with them. And you can swap out what you use for media. I use cut to shape sponges inside of the small little frames, right, that you can buy for those filters. But that's a good case. Very easy to work on. Very easy to work on. Now, there's some people out there who'd say, wait a minute, anything over anything that size, maybe you should consider a canister. But I think two Marineland 450 Pros, you're providing lots of filtration. Let's take a look at what Carl Waggers has to say. Carl says the Cascade canister is quiet, easy to work with, great flow, easy to put back together, cleans the water up in within an hour, the best one I've ever used. And I forgot to mention, I've had it for 2 years now, and it works as good as it did out of the box. Overall, it's a very underrated. Overall, it's very underrated, deserves more credit in the hobby. There you go. Cascade canisters. Who knew? I certainly have not had the opportunity or pleasure to use one. And I'll tell you, one of the laws, it's like laws of thermodynamics, laws of physics and chemistry. It's for every opinion there is an opposite but equal opposite opinion. So for every one of these options that have been described by you in the survey, I'm sure somebody out there is going to say, I hate Sumps, I hate Cascades, I hate everything marine land, I hate everything tidal. And so again, none of this in these surveys says that anyone else is doing it wrong or even that one product is better than another. So much of what we have in the hobby is based on anecdotal, personal experience and personal preference. And you know what? There's enough room in the hobby for all of us to be right to a certain degree. Very seldom that I'll disagree with what you're doing. As long as you can tell me your fish are happy, they got good color, they're active, they're eating, your water quality looks good. Hey, you know what? Keep doing what you're doing. I don't care if you've got under gravel filters, sponge filters. I don't care if you're getting good results. Your fish look good, and they're acting right. More power to you. Keep doing what you're doing. Be reluctant to change what's working. Just ask these guys right here. They'll agree. See, they think I'm going to feed them. They're coming over to check me out. Look at that guy. What a beast. What a beautiful fish. All right, my friends, thank you so much for tuning in. You are the best. And if you do like what you see on this channel, please be sure to give the video a thumbs up, subscribe, hit that bell so you don't miss future videos. Thank you to my Patreon, all of my Patreon members. You are helping me to do some of these major projects that are going on in the fish room, such as the picking up the generators and the generators, the cabling, the propane tanks that are so expensive, all the things involved in all the projects, including the electrical work. All of that is being funded to a large degree by you folks watching the videos, but also those of you who are members of the Patreon monthly supporters. You're just doing a great job in helping me out here, and you are very, very appreciated. Here are some of the members of the Garage Gang, and getting their names up in lights here. But thank you so much, everybody. Those of you who have asterisks next to your name are going the extra mile. You can support the channel for $3 a month, and it goes a very, very long way. So thank you to my Patreon supporters. And for more information on filtration, take a look at a link I'm going to be including right up here for filtration on just general tips for aquarium care. Over here, I'll go ahead and I'll put a link on water changes. And if you want to subscribe, go ahead and hit me in the mug down there. Hit me on the mug and you'll be able to subscribe. Thank you, my friends. That's it for me. You're the best. Bye-bye for now.